Hey guys, Echo here, and today I'm going to tell you a story about a time when me and my friend absolutely demolished a bubble until like 5 a.m. in the morning. So this story takes place when I was like 16, and man, when I was 16, the only thing that mattered to me was when I could next sesh, when I could next get that Zaza in my bloodstream. But during this time in my life, I seshed every morning before school, during school, after school, just any time I was awake, I was getting grilled with my friends or by myself. In high school, I had like no responsibilities, so of course I just wasted my time, but also had some really fun time with friends. I barely had any money because I was getting minimum wage, so it was hard to own a car, have a crippling cigarette and weed addiction, but you know, I made it work. But on this particular day, my friend and I both chipped in to get a half Oz, which was a lot of bud for us back then. I think we paid like 140, which is pretty good. I pay closer to 180 or 200 now. So after school, we get cash out from some ATM, the exact same ATM that we always did. I'm imagining the security guy just watching the same two kids come and get hundreds of dollars out twice a week. But anyway, we drove over to my dealer's place. It was like a 10-minute drive. And he really broke the dealer stereotype because when I texted this guy, he would always reply super quickly, 100% on point. This guy was like a year younger than me, but later on he became my guy for everything. Pills, coke, weed, he was the hookup. And I'm sure he sold more drugs, but that's all I had. So we pick up all our little vacuum sealed half zip, heading home, but neither of us could sesh straight away because both our parents didn't know we smoked yet. And they were super strict, so we just had to wait, which sucked, man. Just seeing a bag chilling in the corner of my room while I tried to distract myself with COD Ghost, Xbox 360. So at this time, I was way too nervous to keep a whole, like, bong in my house, so I had a couple of, like, metal pipes, this one glass bubbler, which we called Barb, short for Barbara, and that thing was my favorite. If you find a picture of what it looks like, I'll put it on screen now, but this little thing was my favorite way to smoke, and I always brought it out to sessions with my friends. So once my mum hit the hay, went to bed, I texted my friend straight away and said I was ready to go, and he was ready to go too. My parents were like synced up in their bedtimes, it was perfect. I couldn't take my car because the engine would definitely wake my mum up, and she would know it was me straight away, you know. I was happy to skate anyway, because this is when me and my friend got really into skating. He just got this Alien Workshop deck, which was sick, and I just had this old like heroin board. Now, I do have to say this, do not be sneaking out of your house, not telling your parents where you're going. Like, man, at least write a note just in case you get in trouble. I cannot tell you how many times in my life I've snuck out, and if anything happened to me, my parents would have no idea and I would be missing and I would be dead in a ditch. But anyway, I get my skateboard, the half zip, bubbler, lighter, water bottle, and I head out, dressed in all black Nike and Adidas, the illegal duo. I lived in the garage and the side door would be like really loud and tough to sneak out because my mom was a super light sleeper and her head was like right next to the window, right next to the door. So it was always mission impossible, full anxiety mode to get out. But I got my sneak level 1000 on, got down the street successfully and just started skating to my friend's place. White Apple earphones in the aux jack, I missed those, backpack on. Now, the worst part about skating to my friend's house was this hill was basically at the end of the trip, and it's just steep enough to be so irritating to skate up, so you have to walk, but then coming back you can just skate down it super high, but then you're also like, shit, going fast. So I finally get to my friend's place. He comes out all quiet and sketchy and shit, and we walk down the street and we start skating and talking. We had a couple places to sesh, so first we went to this little park that's just in plain view of the street, no trees, just houses on either side. There was no cover, like nothing. So we just sit on this bench inside this barbecue area. I pull out my little bubble, I use a water bottle to fill it up. Now something else you guys should know is that I did not know how to clean glass and was way too lazy to do it anyway, so after each sesh it would just be like a little rinse with cold water and that was that. This thing was pretty nasty already, but just wait till the end of the story, it gets much worse, trust me. So we have a couple bowls and move on, nothing exciting happens at the first spot, we're just starting to get a bit miggly. We walk to the other spot that's by a canal, and it's really nice, but there was probably about 10 other kids there and we did not know them. They were like 20 years old as well, and we're like 16, so we were like nope. Stayed out of sight and skated to this other spot. This other spot was under a small bridge that every single car going into this nice area had to cross. And I've personally seen needles, broken glass everywhere, smells like piss constantly, like it's just not the type of place you want to sesh, but we were like, whatever man, let's just smoke. So we start heading onto this bridge. We have to like walk through some trees to get under there. And it was in the summer. There was this massive snake skin, probably a solid 2 meters long, like 8 feet long, huge snake skin. Definitely belonged to a python. And we were like, holy shit. Like, look at that, slightly shitting ourselves. That's a huge red flag. Like, we just entered this snake's hunting ground. There's needles. Like, come on, man. But we did consider leaving, but we're just like, look, man, screw it. We'll just chill. It's fine. We probably won't get eaten. There's 2 of us. It's okay. So there we are under this bridge at like midnight, going bowl after bowl. I remember we had these terrible scissors that were stuck together because we'd used them for this activity so many times. And this tiny little Tupperware container that I stole from the house, which my mum would always get mad at, like, why are the containers going missing all the time? Who was doing this? And I used to just say I lost it at school. Man, we were getting fried like a McDonald's hotcake cooked at 300 degrees for an hour, full McGrilly mode. And man, so I left home at about 9:30 p.m. At this point it's like midnight, and we'd been seshing the entire time, talking shit. Me and this guy could just talk for hours about anything. So we just kept talking, seshing, and we completely lost track of time. I looked up after having a fat bowl and realized there's a kayak coming up the canal. Like, some guy is paddling in a kayak. And a lot of people went out early to exercise, but we thought it was still like the middle of the night, like 2 a.m. But we see this guy, and we're like, shit, still putting stuff away, like smoke just flying around everywhere, smoke still coming out of my mouth as this guy's going past. I'm looking for the bag of weed, right? Because I'm freaking out. I cannot find it. My friend looks over to me and he's got the bag in his hand, which is now completely empty. And then I realize the sun is like cresting, you know, the top of the trees. Like, the sun is coming up. It's like 5 a.m. So my friend and I just turned to each other and just started hysterically laughing. Probably the hardest I've ever laughed in my life, because we cannot believe how quickly the time went. And we're just sitting there finishing a whole half zip through a bubbler in like 8 hours. So as we're laughing, this guy's obviously looking at us, you know, he's just out for his morning paddle, he's looking after his cardiovascular health, just having a nice morning kayak, and he just sees these 2 degenerate kids under a bridge at 5 a.m. so fucking grilled, laughing like maniacs, and I'm sure he was wigging out, but, you know, we didn't care, we were 16. Now, if you remember, I said, trust me, the bubbler gets worse. Well, this thing didn't pull properly, like pull at all, after we were done. It was completely clogged. It didn't even feel like airtight. It was horrible. I mean, there's a half zip sunk into a bubbler, like a half Oz of ash was in the bubbler. So after this, I just had to throw it out. Like, I did try to clean it. I used alcohol, I used rice, I used sand, I used whatever, everything under the sun to clean it, and it was not getting better. I realized that like sinking cones is probably just an Australian thing. I feel like Americans don't really do it. It's when like you burn the entire bowl and then you just and suck it through. You suck it into the device. You suck it into the glass. But then it's also really difficult to clean, but it's just kind of satisfying, so that's what we do. So after we were finally done laughing, we picked up all our shit, said goodbye, and then I had the most anxiety-inducing skate home I've ever had in my life. I'm barely human at this point, man, not sleeping all night, seshing the entire time, half starving to death, super bad munchies. There's people going on their morning runs and shit, people are getting ready for work, ready to start their days, and I'm just a complete degen, skating on the side of the road, eyes barely open. And I knew at this time the sun was coming up, my mum was going to wake up so soon, and I was so grilled, so I needed to get home before she woke up. I had school in like 3 hours, like she could not know that I went out, she would kill me. So there's this big intersection at the top of the hill that I have to go down, and I was like waiting at the crossing for what felt like my entire life. I don't think I even pressed the button. I was just standing there staring at the road, and eventually I just sprinted across when there were no cars, skated down this hill, death wobbles for days, almost die like 6 times, but I finally got back home. Probably looks like it was my first day skating. Just terrible balance. Felt like I was about to pass out. But I finally make it home, sneak back in, and I hit the futon, man. Yeah, I used to sleep and sit on a futon, but that thing was like a godsend at this time. Like 5 minutes later, not even 5 minutes later, I hear my mum get up and start making coffee, and all I could think was, Jesus Christ, please hurry up and go to work so I can raid the cupboards. I'm starving, I'm thirsty, I feel like I'm dying. So while I waited, just playing more COD. It's my biggest nostalgic moment, just getting way too high and playing COD on Xbox 360 in my garage, sitting on my futon. So mum finally leaves for work, I get some food, my sister's looking at me like I'm a goddamn demon, and now I have a decision to make, right? I can stay up and be on time for school, or better, I can have a nap, but like I'll sleep in way too long. So I decide to go to sleep, and of course I get to school at like almost midday, and then I sign in at the attendance office who hate me, and then I left again immediately to catch up with friends and sesh because that's all I did in school. And we had this thing where like you just sign in at the attendance office, it marks you in for the whole day. So I figured out that I could just leave after signing in immediately. These are good times, like I really miss these times, especially the people, you know, I could never talk to anyone for that long anymore. But when I was 16, those nights chatting shit was so much fun. Anyway, that's the story of the time I searched the entire night, half zipped through the bubbler with my friend, under a random bridge with a snakeskin and needles, and had school the next day. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, thank you so much for staying to the end. Shout the like button a fat chop. Subscribe for more content. Love ya. Bye. What the fuck is that?